My mom is from Adachiku and my dad is from Iran. So I was born and raised in Itabashiku. 小学校、中学校、高校は日本の学校。My dad speaks to me in Farsi, my mom speaks to me in Japanese, but when I'm outside of house, I speak Japanese.
Today's guest, Parisa, is mixed Japanese, Persian. She was born and raised in Japan, so she went through the Japanese school system, but she also went to college in America. So we talked today a little bit about the differences between Japan, Persia, and the United States. If you like these interviews and want to support this channel, make sure to hit the join button right below or check out my Patreon and you can support me that way, and you'll help me keep the lights on at my house. Anyway, let's get started. This is Parisa. Parisa, she is half Persian, half Japanese. Can you introduce yourself in Japanese, English, and Farsi?
Yes, let's do it. Konnichiwa, Parisa desu. Hi everyone, I'm Parisa. Ruz beche, man Parisa hastam.
What is your best language though?
English.
But you were born and raised in Japan, right?
Yeah. I feel like my Japanese skills is stopped at 18. So I talk like a little child a little bit, but I feel like my English, I don't know, I feel comfortable. I feel like I could be very kind and nice in English, but Japanese, sometimes I'm a little, I don't know, I use a...
Are you quieter or something in Japanese? Well, because you grew up here, because I thought you were going to say Japanese.
Yeah.
絶対日本語だと言うと思ってたんだけど。
そうなんだけど、でも日本語の方がもうちょっと勉強必要かも。Honestly, that's how I feel, yeah.
Well, we'll go through your backstory a little bit because you went to school, you were born here in Saitama, not Saitama, Itabashi. You were born in Itabashi, stayed until you were 18, right? And then you went to LA, Los Angeles when you were 18, and you're 25 right now. So you spent maybe the last, you spent 4 years in the US?
Total five in America, and then came back to Japan 2 years ago.
You know, I haven't had a half Persian person on my channel before.
Amazing.
Yeah, you're the first one.
Yes.
Can you explain the logistics behind Persian and Iranian and
Parisian, right? My family, my dad is Persian, and we say Persian because I was used to it. But then recently, when I say Persian, but my uncle edited me and he goes Iranian. Persian, Iranian, this whole thing, it's confusing, honestly.
In 日本語で言うと, would you say half Persian 人 or half Iran 人?
イラン人って言うと思う。イランと日本のハーフっていう。そう。でも言葉は Farsi っていうね。
Yeah.
Farsi とかペルシャ語っていうね。で、ペルシャ絨毯があって、で、ペルシャキャットがいてでしょ
Persian cats are Iranian cats. Okay. I don't want to jump, I won't jump into logistics there. We wanted to talk a little bit about your experience growing up as a biracial Japanese person in Japan. Let's start at the beginning. Where did you go to school?
小学校は板橋区。So I was born and raised in 板橋区. Actually, my mom is from Adachiku and my dad is from Iran. But then they decided to have a house in Itabashiku, and I grew up in Itabashiku, went to Itabashiku no 小学校. Itabashiku no 小学校, Itabashiku no 中学校, and actually 隣の北区の高校. So it's pretty much my little city I was, I grew up in. 小学校、中学校、高校は日本の学校, traditional. Pretty much nobody looked like this, and it's just like I'm just like one of the mixed girl and this whole.
Did your お父さんとお母さんは別にイランの学校とかFarsi 語を教えようとしなかったの?
So pretty much my dad was speaking to me in Farsi. So when I was little, I was more speaking in Farsi. I was more. So when I go back to home, my dad speaks to me in Farsi. My mom speaks to me in Japanese. But when I'm outside of house, I speak Japanese. But my dad usually always speaks to me in Farsi. So when I went to Iran when I was little, I was speaking like pretty good Farsi. Yeah.
But now it's like slowly.
So 3位
になってる。
1英語2日本語3位 Farsi.
Your dad, when did he come to Japan?
He was a soldier. He went to the war. He went to the war of Iran and Iraq war. I think that's a revolution era. And then when he finished the war, he came to Japan to basically work, right? So there was a time when Ueno was Ueno and Yogi Park was popping for full of migrations, right? Basically full of Iranians. So that time my mom was working in Ueno and I guess they met in Ueno.
Is there a big community of Iranians living in Tokyo?
Not really, but I find them sometimes. So my dad, actually, he's so good at making all this Persian community, Persian friends.
Yeah.
I don't know how he finds it, but it just, they just, when you find Iranjin in Japan, you're just like, oh, like kazoku, like ちょっとだけ本当に少ない percentage でいるけど there is.
Where do they hang out? Shisha bars.
I have no idea.
Wait, hold on.
I have no idea. Shisha is from Iran.
Okay, thank God.
My Iranji culture is what? Persia 絨毯 Shisha もそうでしょでもそう、the Persian culture is all over the place, all over. イラン人は日本はやっぱ少ない、パーセンテージが少ないから、when I see another Persian girl or Persian half, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
like
even
友
closer.
達なんか家族見つけたみたいな。
Can you spot a Iranjin hafu?
Yeah.
How?
Hair, curly hair, eyebrows, like their eyebrows are crazy, like
Okay.
thick and nice. Nose, chin. Their chin is like ちょっとね、こう私のチン、お尻みたいな感じ。
I don't like that. 自分から言ってもいいけど。
あとその輪郭、そう横顔がすごいみんな綺麗。みんな綺麗。イラン人すごい綺麗と思う。みんな。
Can you do 横顔?
My 横顔?
Yeah. So.
My 横顔 look like an アルファベットの E.
It kind of look like.
こことこことここ。
It's an E? I never even thought about
Right?
that. Yeah.
It looks like E, right?
So is this how you spot in Iran hafu?
Yeah. でもほらダルビッシュもイラン人でしょ?
Darvish. Darvish is Iranian.
His eyes and also like he has hair. Like hair like
more hair
ちょっとこう like more hair.
Yeah.
And maybe his nose. His nose はここから高いじゃん nose.
Okay, I just need a comparison. Could be 親戚. こ
こから高い nose はイラン人。Also like his skin is a bit ちょっと黄色い感じじゃない?
Yeah.
Right? Not fully pale white. Yeah, I'm very yellow ね. Now I'm tanned. But when I stand next to my Japanese girls, my Japanese friend, 色で言うとちょっと真っ白、黄色みたいな。群青色みたいな。
You're a different shade. 50
Yeah.
shades of yellow.
Yeah.
So that's it. I don't know.
That's-
Do you get that joke?
I feel no.
The 50 Shades
No.
of Grey. It's a romance novel.
Really?
It
I don't
it doesn't
know.
matter.
No.
It doesn't matter. One day I need to just get on my channel all the hafus like I've interviewed.
Yeah.
And like we'll align each other by color of the skin and we'll make like a gradient.
色鉛筆みたいな。
Yeah. It's just
七色鉛筆みたいな。
So even though it is all over the place though, there was not any other Hafu Persian kids in your school, right? And it was just you and your brother, your older brother.
Yeah.
And you talked about to me how, a lot of the kids would point out maybe your facial features. You didn't like that, I think.
No, I didn't like it. I just didn't know that you don't really realize how you look until like later on, right? Like you don't really look in the mirror like, oh, like this, that. Like you don't do that. But I kind of grew up and built, Parisa, like built me based on how people looked at me, how people comment my features and how people say good or bad, right? So Japanese kids in school, they came up to me like, oh, why is your なんで鼻高いの? なんで顎があるの? なんで髪の毛くるくるしてるの? とか、ブロッコリーって言われたり、髪の毛ブロッコリーで言われたり。
Sorry, it's like almost creative.
But the thing is,
kids say really funny stuff.
Oh my god. Well, which is very pure, but at the same time it's kind of sad because they don't have that environment. Like they don't have the new culture. Like they don't, 仕方ない because they don't have the 環境, their environment is not it's pretty much right Japanese, left Japanese, in front of Japanese, up and down is all Japanese, right? Most of them. Very snow, right? It's very straightforward. It's good, but at the same time, if you talk about how they look, vice versa, you probably don't like that, you know what I mean? But the kids はちょっとね, like they learn by doing it. So they not meant to hurt me. But at the same time, when they talk about my features, like my ago and like nose and like I have body hair and my curly hair. Like I look totally different. They'll be like, なんでそういうロックなの? なんでそういう髪の毛?
Until what year were they doing this until you think?
高校?
Until Coco? I mean, so this is 10 years ago?
そうだ 10 years ago.
But you said in high school, and this I hear this a lot. There's always like the switch, right?
So they're like this, right?
In
no, they're like, boom.
And so in middle school, they're like, oh yeah, why does your face look like this? And then they go to summer vacation. Then high school, and they're like, oh.
あなたみたいになりたい。
I like half people.
Half makeup, right? Half curly hair, half makeup, and all that, like, you know.
I think I remember you telling me you didn't really have friends growing up. Almost zero, right? Because of this.
Yeah, because of this. But also, like, it was my first jump, right? Like, 最初から、なんで? It's almost like I felt like it was an attack, right? So I thought that, like, みんな敵と思った. Like, I thought everyone is, like, against me. And, you know, one of my close friends back in my jimoto, she didn't care how I look. Like, we did everything same. We did everything together. She didn't care if I have, like, body hair or toes, no. Like, she didn't care. She just kind of she just loved who I am.
I mean, I remember your otosan, right? He's a soldier, so he had to teach you some self-defense moves that you used on children. Well, I shouldn't say, you used on children when you were a child, so it's safe.
Yeah. そう。だから、みんなが敵と思ったのは、まあ、最初に、こう、相手から来るアプローチがやっぱりすごい、っていう、っていう感じ。だから、I naturally just wanted to fight back. I was like, okay, you guys techie, I have to fight. You know, otherwise I'm gonna be very like いじめられる. And I was いじめられたし、いじめたし.
Oh, you kaished out, right?
Well, the thing is, if I get hurt, like I'll hurt you more type vibe, which is not right. It's not right. But I was a little kid, and you know, I was like, nande? Why everyone's not adapting me? Why this is not alright? だからすごい敵多いと思ったし、友達も作りたくなかったし、味方って思える人がやっぱり学校にいなかった。でもそれはやっぱりみんなが敵だって思ってた自分の中にもあると思うし、でも彼らは多分率直なそのピュアなこうインテンションだったと思うけど honestly I felt like it was a war. Literally when I go to school, I didn't want to go to school, like, but my mom, like, if anything goes wrong, she pulled up to the school.
She pulled up?
Yeah, she will.
That's right. Your mom is from Adachi-ku, so she's kind of like a little bit of she's got the hood Japanese.
Yes, she's definitely a foot lady.
Jumping back though, can you tell me the story again? What happened when you had to like ashikake some kid? When you had a judo throw a kid?
Yeah. Okay, so this happened quite a few times. So basically, like, I told my dad, like, Dad, you know, a lot of kids are against me, and I feel like I've been bullied, and also I want to protect myself. Also, I want to fight back, right? And he was like, well, I mean, if you want to learn some waza, I'll tell you something. So he taught me, and this kid, we have soji jikan, right? We have like cleaning time at the end of the day of everyday school. This guy, he likes to like ijimeru me all the time, right? I was like, all right. He started again. So I was like, I got pissed, right? I was like, you know what? You know, there's like a hoki, like brush,
the
like bloom, and there's like a bloom case in the back of the class room. I was like, you know what if I put him into the case? Because I was so pissed. I was like, what do I do? Like, I
Can he
can't
fit in this case?
I literally, like, I pushed him to the case and locked him.
You got him?
That's another thing. Yeah, that's the one thing. Another thing, one of the kids, it was like, so the guy was coming here, right? Yeah, and I grabbed him, and I was just like, boom.
And then tripped this.
So yeah, I was like,
good. Your dad is a good teacher.
And then he ended up getting tankobu, and he ended up getting crying. I was like, well, this is what you get. This is what you get. I'm sorry. You hurt me, I hurt you.
Did you get in trouble for that?
Yes, every day. At school, I go to the president room and so, Parisa-san, ダメですよ、そんな暴れちゃ. And I'm like, well, okay, teach the kids then. Teach the kids how to be, peaceful. And
You're probably like, what, Jusai or something?
Yeah.
You're like 10 telling the principal, you should teach
okay,
the
then
kids.
if you want the peaceful school, make the peaceful school. I'm just in it. I was a trouble kid actually, but then I felt like if everyone, including me, treated the same, I don't think that would happen.
This reminds me that you eventually went into your tough girl era.
Yeah. So 小学校, I was dancer, right? And I already had I had piercing already in my 小学校. And I think I've dyed my hair in 小学校. But I also didn't like the fact that I had piercing and I had to dye my hair black and the teacher tells you.
You had to dye your hair black. Oh, because it was dyed.
So demo, I had my hair right now is pretty natural. I just have a highlight, but I have dark brown hair, which I also have a curly. So they thought that I was perm. I did perm. They thought that I did perm or I dyed my hair to brown.
And you're not allowed to perm your hair in school?
So a lot of people had straight no kaminoke. So I also got inspired by that. So sometimes I straighten my hair and then at some point I thought that I have to straighten my hair because there's a lot of girls that are straight. So sometimes I felt like I had to. Did
you feel pressure because just everyone else looked that same way?
Yeah.
And how long did you try to look like other people?
Until I get out of America. I get out of Japan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, until I was 18. So after I was 18, after I was in America, I started to oh, this is good.
In high school, it was a little bit better. You said you were treated better. When better
普通そう普通だった みんな平等そうみんな平等でみんな fair. It's it felt like fair. Nobody pointed at me how I look. Nobody told me what to do. Nobody hurt me, and I didn't hurt them. And yeah, high school was pretty peace.
Mm-hmm. Do you think young kids are a little bit better about treating people who look different than them? Do you think it's any different now, 20 years later?
I feel like depending on the chiki. I feel like a place like Itabashi, a place like Nerima, I feel like they're still somewhat, closed-minded. But I feel like there's a bit better environment inside of Tonai, inside of Daikanyama or Hiro or Shibuya, Harajuku, and all that popping area. I think it's better because of all these tourists and people been coming in and out of Japan. I think that's much better. So as much as you go further than the city, I think maybe things are a bit difficult. But overall, I feel like Japan needs more update about multicultural, different race, and different skin color, this, that. I feel like Japan needs more update. I feel like it's getting better. I feel like getting better, but it could be better.
So going back into your decision to go to America.
So my parents was like, okay, what you gonna do? And I was like, you know what? Like you said, I don't really make friends in school, and I'm so used to do everything outside of school and make friends in the environment outside of school. So I didn't really want to be in the same environment. I was like, okay, I want to go learn English.
You decided to go to the States, and your parents supported that decision. I think you said you kind of had to hustle, right, in the States to pay for your college. What college was it?
Santa Monica College.
Santa Monica College. Yeah. Can you tell me what your first impressions of LA were and maybe some culture shocks that happened to you?
When I went to LA, I was pretty Japanese, right? This is what I realized when I went to America. I was like, oh my God, I'm so Japanese. You know what I mean? Because that's the whole box that I was in. I was born and raised in Japan. So when I went to America, I thought that everyone's going to be on time. I thought that everyone's going to be...
that's the thing.
Yeah.
Not punctual.
I realized, I was like, めっちゃ日本人私. I have to ちょっとこれ,なんていうの, I don't have to be that と思ったの. I was like, oh, I could be myself. So I try a lot of things. I try out to be this, to be that, to be this. Okay, what do I like to be? So America is すごい free. It's very free.
It's a little too free.
It's too free. Yes, you're right. It's very free. So
but I love it.
No, I love it. So when I went to America, people are, they respect themselves. And they also have a passion. They also have a passion of what they do. Usually, not all of them, but most of them, they're passionate about what I do. Even though at a coffee shop, there's a person there who makes a coffee. They're like, hey, how are you? How you doing? So people in America, they speak to you like human being. You know what I mean? Like human to human. But in Japan, how I feel, I'm talking to a robot. That's how I feel. I'm like, hello, I'm human. You too, So that's how I feel. That's the difference between like Japan and America. I feel like in people in America, they're more they more know about themselves and they're passionate about what they do and they say what I needed to be said. And they carry their own opinion.
Why do you think a lot of Japanese are robotic on the outside? I think a lot of Japanese people are actually very passionate as well, but maybe they don't show that side.
Yeah, and I feel like it has to do with education. I feel like, they don't really teach how to do a presentation or teach how to hatsugen or teach how to, I feel like most of them are taught how to be a good follower, not how to be a good leader. I feel like in America or maybe different countries, they might, push to more side of the leader and the boss side. But I feel like if people in Japan are taught to be followed. And also, good thing about Japan, manners and respect. I love that. And people line up for the train and everything is in order. A train 1 minute late, they'll just be like, I'm sorry about that. There's ちょっと遅刻してます。すいません. It's like they have a respect to others, so which is good, but I feel like a lot of people are taught to be こうやってやんなきゃいけない。これがルール。これで守んなきゃいけない。So I feel like that will push them to be こういう人にならなきゃいけない。When it's not. When it's like こういう人で大丈夫。これでいい。You know what I mean?
The United States is a very individualism society, so a lot of leaders are born out of that. And then Japan is a very collectivist society where it's all about the community and helping the group. So in some ways, the US might have too many people who are like me.
Yeah.
And then Japan has a lot of people who are like group. I don't, meiwaku kaketakunai, like I'll be quiet for the group. And then the US is like, hey, I'm here.
Yeah. I feel like in America, there's good and bad. In Japan, there's good and bad as well. But I feel like maybe people in Japan could take more part of like independent part.
I've always thought, I'm going to throw in some of my personal opinion that I think the US, because it's an individual society, it's going to feel less pressure on you because you can think about yourself and be a little bit selfish and everyone else like, I don't care. Japan, I think it helps the group more when everyone is more, respecting each other. But the downside is you could maybe gaman, like take in so much inside and never let it out. And then just be stressed and depressed. I think Japan maybe sometimes struggles with too much group thinking. The US has too much individual thinking. But if I had to choose, being too individual will at least make, maybe, in my opinion, a little bit easier on yourself. And maybe that's why in Japan, suicide rates are higher.
Very high.
But that's why America has higher murder rate because they care about themselves.
Yes, they care about themselves, right?
So like, I won't die, but I will take somebody else out.
Yeah, so I think, honestly, I don't have regret, I don't have regret growing up in Japan and going to LA because I did wanted to learn English and I did wanted to see the different world and I also learned a lot of cultures and I kind of found myself, right? So I was like, what do I be in school? So I graduated at community college. The school gives me a year working visa. So I worked in America for a year and then I came back to Japan. But when I came back to Japan, I was totally lost. I was very lost.
You were lost in Japan because of how you maybe felt that you changed when you were in the US?
Yeah, I was like, whoa. When I came back to Japan, I was like, it just feels like I went to Brazil for the first time. I was like, it's like other side of the world. I was like, whoa, like what am I gonna do?
Well,
I didn't know that I have a beautiful future. I wasn't proud myself being Iranian and Japanese.
were people in the U.S. proud of
Yeah,
that
they were
for
like,
you?
you're from Japan, you're mixed, you're Persian. I'm like, they look confused. They're like, wow. I was like, I've never get that reaction before in my life. I was like, this is good? They're like, amazing. They're like, cheers. And I'm
Right.
like, wow. Even though if it's oseji, it made me feel like I'm welcomed. It made me feel like I'm good how I am.これでよかったんだ。これでよかったんだって。
Did
So-
that never happen in high school or anywhere in Japan? Does it happen now in Japan?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like because based off of my environment is better than what I had back then. Because I speak English literally every day. You know, I speak English and Japanese back and forth. And I feel like people that are around me they're passionate about what they do, and they be all over the world. They be in and out of Japan. And even though they grew up in Japan, they know a lot of different side of country, this culture, that culture. So environment now is very good. I love Japan, and I do want to continue what I do as well. But when I went to America, when I went to LA, it was, I don't know, it wasn't like a culture shock. Maybe it was a culture shock, but I felt like, oh, I exist, you know? I was like, oh, I exist. It's okay to have chotto takai se, because I wasn't even tall in America, but I was a bit tall in Japan. And I had big foot, tall nose, dark brown hair, curly, and eyes different, and I look Iranjin. But when I went to Iran, I'm Japonais, which is Japanese. And when I'm in Japan, they can't tell me who I am. So I didn't really have an ibasho, but then when I went to LA, they're like, you are beautiful just the way you are. And a lot of people said that to me, and I'm like, wow, I didn't know I exist. I didn't know this was okay. これでよかったんだって。
You know, when you came back to Japan, you said you felt lost. Why is that?
Because I love the people there, like, you know, good and bad people there as well, of course, but I felt like I found a good circle of friends in LA that supported me, and I supported them, and I felt like I have a lot of friends group that I could trust and fully be myself. They made me feel better and become better. And then when I came back to Japan, not a lot of people know themselves. Like, not a lot of people know who they are and what they like, and most of people they've never been to like outside of country, you know. And I felt like a lot of closed-minded. So when I speak about how I feel or how I think, they either reject or they either want to fight. Not everybody, most of them I feel like not, because like you said, there's not like a leader culture here. It's more like group de minna de gokimashou, but there is a boss and leader on that community. So I feel like people in Japan, most of them are hard to accept different ideas, different opinions, different thoughts. But that would make sense because me back in the day was bullied because they didn't adapt or understand, accept different culture. So it makes sense. It makes sense for me.
Anything different was kind of rejected or seen different in terms of physical features, or somebody like you who's mixed, right? So it carries over into everything.
Yeah. It kind of makes sense for me, but still, I feel like I do want to accept them the way they are because that's love. I love me, so I could love them. So I want to accept, but most of Japanese people can't have a peaceful conversation, you know, having a different opinion. There was a lot of conflict too when I came back, but I kind of started to rebuild again, friendship and community and people that are around me, tapped in with my family, and then now it's kind of settled. Based off of seeing different culture in LA and America helped me become who I am. But if I was in Japan the whole life, I might be just gyaru.
That's the ending. Your last transformation was gyaru.
I would just be gyaru. I look like this, but I might be just fully Japanese inside.
Do you know anything about how the Iranians, like your dad, think about Japanese people or half Japanese kids? Or are they more accepting of mixed kids?
You know what's crazy? Japan and Iran, it's similar. Because you know how we have mosque, we pray, we're Muslim, and Japan has, you know, certain culture, right? Certain rules, strict, and I feel like Japan にちょっと似てる. We have like, you know, ルール, hijab, and especially a Persian dad is like a Japanese dad. We make always fun of Persian dads, but you know, oh, this is your baba, but we call it baba, the dad. This is how your baba is, or like we make fun of it all the time. But in Iran, over there, it's somewhat strict, somewhat cultured, and just like Japan is. So I feel like America is like in the middle. America is very free and accept a lot of things. I feel like the America or even Europe is, I see a lot of different culture and races in Europe, and I feel like, yeah, if you say what's the differences between Japan and Iran, it's pretty much ちょっと似てる.
It's actually
ちょっと似てる.
Wow, it's actually more niteru than the US and Japan.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Japan and the US is totally opposite. Well, I had my dad and my mom at the house, so it was very strict. Like, mongen atta, I can't wear a skirt, or Persian dads are strict. So, you know, I was also like a princess of the house. I was like sueko, you know, like very younger. You know, it's all of love always, but it's just a bit strict. I feel like that Japanese dads and Persian dads are a bit similar.
The last question I want to get to is, do you have any message for anyone else who might be a mixed kid growing up right now, or maybe somebody that is your age and is watching this video right now?
I would say first, be proud. Be proud of yourself. Be proud of where you're from. You know, be proud of who you are. I feel like people will find themselves by time. Yes, of course, get out of Japan. See the world and get out of Japan. See the world and come back and see what you can do. See what you can do. And see what you want to do, what you want to achieve in your life. Because life is just only one time. Life is like art. Life is art. Life is like a canvas. You know, I want you guys to live the fully, you know, enjoy life. Don't worry about what people say. Don't worry about how you look. You're beautiful. You're special. I didn't know until I went to LA, which kind of weird because Japan is my home.
I understand.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can appreciate where you're from way more if you go around and then you come back. There's things that make it hard to live here. There's some things that are just amazing about here, but I can appreciate things more myself because I am lucky enough to talk to people like you or travel to the US or here.
At the end of the day, if you're happy here. So I'm happy now, yeah.
And you're trying to share this now with Blank Paper Club.
Yes,
Can you talk about that?
So I started this community called Blank Paper Club. It's the place where people will be connected with nature, and also people who is especially mixed or have a multicultural background, different races, and different mom, dad, or maybe you look fully Japanese but don't know how to speak Japanese, born, raised in New York or something like that. This place will be like a safe place for everyone, and I want everybody to be connected into a nature because Japan has a beautiful nature. We have 4 seasons, we have beautiful nature, so I want this to be like it's like a summer camp. It's like also boys and girls club, but at the same time I want this community to be help each other and share stories and share the pain. I want this to be, even though school sucks for mixed kids, maybe just like me, but I didn't have that. I didn't have this. So I felt like making this community makes it a bit better especially for the mixed kids to be like, okay, I go to this traditional Japan school, but then I have Blank Paper Club. If anyone interested, welcome. I'm here.
She's here. It's on Instagram, right?
On Instagram, making a website. I think this is good. This is healthy.
Yes.
I want the healthy stuff.
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。Merci.